AD general requirements. A crew member who moves out of the operator's view to a location where the crew member must could be injured by movement of the equipment must inform the operator before going to that location. The operator must not move the equipment until that crew member informs the operator that he or she has relocated to a safe position. Employees must never be under the boom or jib when pins or smaller similar devices are being removed unless it is required by site constraints and the director has implemented procedures that minimize the risk of unintended movement and the duration and extent of exposure under the boom. Com- Component weights must be readily available for all components to be assembled. All rigging must be done by a qualified rigger. Pins must not be removed during disassembly when the pendants are in tension. Booms supported by only by cantilevering must not exceed manufacturer's limitation or registered professional engineer's limitations as applicable. Component selection and equipment configuration that affects the capacity or safe operation of the equipment must be in accordance with the manufacturer's requirements and limits of the registered professional engineer requirements and limits as applicable. The AD outriggers and stabilizers. When outriggers or stabilizers are used or are necessary in light of the load to be handled and operating radius. So outriggers and stabilizers must be fully extended or permitted by manufacturer procedures. Deployed is specific in the load chart. Outriggers must be set to remove equipment weight from the wheels. Basically, outriggers add I guess another layer of I wouldn't say protection, but they just stabilize the crane, just because the manufacturer's requirements or that specific load calls for that, that specific crane calls for that type of a stabilizer. So then it has to be utilized, and then all of these concerns have to be taken into account, and they have to be properly installed. These stabilizers. So now let's go into different types of crane hazards. So we have contact with power lines, overturns, falls, mechanical failures, moving parts, improper load rating, excessive winds, no hand signals, inadequate inspection and maintenance. So this is an important slide to know right here, different crane hazards. Continuing, unguarded parts, unguarded swing radius, working too close to power lines, improper exhaust system, shattered windows, no step guy rail walkways, no boom angle indicator, and not using outriggers. So OSHA identified crane hazards. OSHA analysis identified the major cause of crane accidents to include the boom or crane contact with energized power lines, under the hook lifting device, overturned cranes, so a lot of things that we just mentioned, dropped loads, boom collapse, crushing by the counterweight. barrier guards showing the swing radius. That right there, um, right in the center, is the stabilizer that we mentioned in previous slides. Just giving more support to the crane. Operator visibility, if you have a broken window, won't be able to see well, so make sure windows or other obstructions do not prevent the operator from seeing. Ladders, use ladders to get to the upper portion of the cab. Runways and steps need to have guardrails, handholds, and slip-resistant surfaces. Planning before the startup. So level the crane and ensure support surface is firm and able to support the load. We mentioned the power line, know the basic crane capacities, limitations, and job site restrictions. So barricade the areas with a swing radius and determine safe areas to store materials and place machinery. Suspended loads. This is a big one. Don't stand under suspended loads. Never do that. Common reason accidents occur: instability, unsecured load, or the load capacity exceeded, or ground not level or too soft. Lack of communication. The point of operation is a distance from the crane operator and not in full view of the operator. And the lack of training, inadequate maintenance or inspection. Also, an important slide right here. A competent person must inspect all machinery and equipment prior to each use and during use to make sure that it is in safe operating condition. If it needs fixing, take it out of service and don't use it until it has been fixed. Load capacity, make sure the crane operator can see the rated load capacity, see its limits, its operating speeds, and special hazard warning or instruction. So when you go up to a crane operator, this is something that you would definitely ask them. You would say, where is the data sheet? Where's the manufacturer's instructions? Do you know all the specifications of the crane you are operating as a field engineer, as an inspector? This is one of the responsibilities. You also would ask them for their license, their certification, make sure that it's valid. Boom angle indicator. So a boom angle indicator must be on the crane at all times. Know the weight of the load. So refer to the shipping ticket or other documentation. Ensure the lift calculations are correct. Ensure that the load is within the load chart rating for the boom length and load radius of crane. The crane is rated by the maximum weight it will lift at a minimum radius and minimum boom length. The further from its center point, the less it will lift. Load lifting factors, so not level, wind, side loads on its wheels, lifting over the side, use of extensions, jib, and other attachments, and limit of wire, rope, slings, and lifting devices. So all of these are going to be load limiting factors. Any one of these factors is going to affect the shifting and the load, the movement of the crane. Communication is the most important key, so make sure that your person that is directing the crane operator knows all the signals. These are pretty much most of them right here. Standard and alternative signals. Hand signal charts must be either posted on the equipment or conspicuously posted in the vicinity of the hoisting operations. Hand signal charts must either be posted on equipment. Same thing there. When using this. So when using non-standard hand signals, the signal person, operator, and the lift director must contact each other prior to the operation and agree on the non-standard hand signals that will be utilized. Maintenance inspection and crane certification. A competent person must begin a visual inspection prior to each shift the equipment will be used. The inspection must consist of observation for apparent deficiencies. Taking apart equipment components and booming down is not required as part of this inspection. unless the results of the visual inspection or trial operation indicate that further investigation is necessary. Determinations made in the inspection must be reassessed in light of observations made during the operation, and at a minimum, the inspection must include all of the following. So all of these components have to be checked off before the crane can go into use. So this is something all of these have to be in compliance and in order. Just continuing on. Monthly inspections. Each month the equipment is in service and must be inspected, and record must be kept at least 3 months. Annual comprehensive inspections. Every 12 months the equipment must be inspected by a qualified person in accordance with 1926-14-12. So just to wrap this up, some questions here. Is anyone allowed to operate a crane? Must a crane member inform the operator before going to that location behind a crane or blind spot? Is the greatest risk for cranes coming into contacting power lines? And when should crane be inspected? So the first one is no, only qualified operators. Second one is yes, always. Third one, yes, and being struck by a crane or falling load are also great risks. And when should the crane be inspected? Just went over it. At the beginning of every shift, monthly and annually. And that is the end of this presentation. Guys, if you have any questions, just send me an email and I will respond back. And I'm going to post this very shortly. I believe the PowerPoint, I already have it up there. So yeah, I think this was straightforward. So again, if you have any questions, just send me an email. Thank you. Bye.